This is an Undiscovered Legacy production and proud member of Pod Nation Media Network.
Welcome to Business Conversations with Pi and Piette 2.0, where the advice is real, but the voices are AI. I'm Scoob, and we're harnessing cutting-edge artificial intelligence to tackle real-world business challenges and deliver actionable strategies you can implement right now. Joining us is our newest AI voice, Piette, sharp, insightful, and ready to challenge conventional wisdom. The questions are real, the data is vast, and the insights game-changing. So buckle up, Scoob believers. It's time to get across the start line. Let's dive in.
Have you ever been sitting at your desk on just a random Tuesday afternoon and you glance at the clock and you think, I absolutely cannot do this for another 20 years?
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody knows that feeling.
Right. You look around, you hear that low, relentless hum of the office fluorescent lights, and suddenly you're like practically hyperventilating about your future. You just want to walk right into your boss's office, hand over your badge, and just walk out.
It is the universal corporate wake-up call.
Yeah.
And, it usually happens exactly like that. It is rarely on a Friday afternoon when you're packing up for the weekend.
Yeah, you're usually happy then.
Exactly. It's right in the middle of a mundane Tuesday when the absolute reality of the grind just settles onto your chest like an anvil.
Well, today's deep dive is a really special one because we are tackling that exact feeling, but we're doing it to solve a very specific life-altering dilemma. A listener wrote in with a question that I know millions of you are asking yourselves right now, which is basically, is my side hustle stable enough to quit my day job yet?
It is the defining question for really an entire generation of workers.
Yeah.
But to answer it for you today, we aren't going to just hand out, empty platitudes.
No, definitely not.
If you're looking for someone to just tell you to follow your dreams and the net will appear, you are absolutely in the wrong place.
Yeah.
We've pulled together this dense, fascinating stack of sources to look at the cold, hard, mathematical, and legal realities of making this transition.
Yeah, we are looking at raw, firsthand accounts from successful entrepreneurs who have actually survived the leap. So we've got the story of the creator behind the She's So Lucky brand and the journey of lawyer-turned-founder Sam Vander Wielen.
Both incredible stories.
Truly. And we're also pulling from the Kiplinger 8-point plan for financial exits, the mathematical quit calculator developed by founder George Pi, and some highly practical small business resource templates from Futurepreneur and Driver's Note for tracking cash flow and mileage.
So what we're doing today is breaking down the exact math, the brutal emotional hurdles, and the very, very unsexy legal realities of resigning. Because, you cannot base a massive life transition purely on having a bad Tuesday at the office.
Right.
We have to start by looking at the battle between the emotional breaking point and the mathematical reality.
Let's talk about those emotional breaking points because the sources we have, they paint a pretty harrowing picture. Take the cooking creator behind it. She's so lucky. Her story is intense.
It really is.
She was working at this very demanding, 15-person agency. And during the period when the Black Lives Matter movement gained massive national attention, corporations suddenly and frantically wanted to work with Black-owned agencies. So her workload at her day job just absolutely exploded.
And remember, she is trying to run her side hustle at the exact same time.
Right, the cooking channel.
Yeah. She's juggling her day job clients while desperately trying to grow this food channel. We're talking about someone literally cooking recipes for her channel while wearing a mask, running to the grocery store multiple times a week, and spending $1,000 a month on ingredients just to keep up with her content schedule.
Wow.
The stress didn't just make her tired, it compounded until her physical body essentially gave out.
Yeah, the detail that really stuck with me from that was the Slack message.
Oh, God, yes.
She talks about sitting at her computer, hearing the ding of a Slack notification, and her hands literally started shaking. She was so overwhelmed that she threw a mason jar of water across the room just to get a physical release of the tension, and she ended up crying in the fetal position on her floor for an hour.
That is awful.
She had her first ever panic attack right then and there.
Which is a severe biological reaction to burnout. Your nervous system is basically short-circuiting. And we see a completely different, but honestly, equally powerful flavor of this emotional breaking point with Sam Vander Wielen.
Yeah, let's talk about Sam.
So Sam was a corporate lawyer at a massive firm. She was making incredible money, but she was entirely miserable. So she bought a brand new, fully loaded Mercedes.
As you do.
Right. Her logic was, well, I hate this job, I hate my daily life, but at least I'll have a luxury car to commute in.
But the car doesn't fix the hum of the fluorescent lights, does it?
No, it doesn't. She ended up sitting in that luxury car, eating her lunch in the parking lot, and just sobbing. It's such a striking image. Crying in a brand new Mercedes that you bought specifically to make your miserable job tolerable. But, and here is the critical pivot in both of these stories, neither of these women quit the very next day.
Right.
They had the breakdown, they hit rock bottom, but they didn't hand in their 2 weeks' notice the next morning.
Because they understood the danger of the moving goalpost. This is a concept George Pooh highlights with his quit calculator. He points out that so many aspiring founders tell themselves, I will quit my job the second I have exactly $50,000 saved.
Yep, they always have a number.
Always. But then they hit 50,000, the fear kicks in, and they rationalize, well, actually, I need that number plus another 100,000 just to be safe.
Constantly moving the line.
But hold on, let me push back on that a little bit. Isn't waiting for the perfect, untouchable savings number kind of like standing on the edge of a high diving board forever?
How do you mean?
Like you keep looking down at the water, telling yourself you just need to stretch for one more minute, check the wind one more time. At what point does being responsible just become an elaborate, socially acceptable excuse for procrastination? I mean, you can always convince yourself you need one more year of salary.
Okay, it sounds like procrastination, sure. But jumping without a net isn't brave. It's reckless. Putte's calculator exists to bridge that gap between being a coward and being a fool.
Okay, fair.
It takes the emotion, both the fear and the blind optimism, completely out of the equation. You input your actual liquid savings, your monthly burn rate, any partner income, and it spits out a hard, undeniable date.
Not a feeling, a date.
Exactly. A date. You jump on that date.
Which is exactly how the cooking creator navigated her panic attack. After she found herself in the fetal position, she didn't just leap into the void. She waited 4 more agonizing months.
4 months.
Yeah. She told herself she needed a safety net of $25,000 to survive. To get there, she took every single brand partnership offered to her, even if it was just for $200 a pop.
She just ground it out.
She stacked that cash until she hit her exact goal, and then, even though she was still terrified, she quit. She forced herself to jump when the math said it was safe, not when the fear went away. Because honestly, the fear never fully goes away.
No, it doesn't. And that 4-month window is critical. It brings us to what you should be doing right now while you are still employed and planning your escape.
That beta testing phase.
Yes. Sam Vander Wielen has this brilliant philosophy. She says, you need to view your current 9-to-5 job as a paid beta testing ground for your future company.
I love this concept. Think about it using this analogy. Your current employer is essentially a very generous angel investor.
Well, that's a great way to put it.
Right. They are funding your daily life, providing you with health insurance, paying your rent, and remarkably, they are asking for 0 equity in your new startup.
0%.
It completely reframes how you look at a job you might deeply resent. You aren't trapped, you are being sponsored.
It changes the entire dynamic. Sam realized that even though she hated corporate law, she was learning vital skills on someone else's dime. She was learning immense efficiency, how to manage difficult clients, and how a profitable business actually operates.
All highly transferable skills.
Exactly. But to use this time effectively, you can't just float along. The Kiplinger 8-point plan stresses that you need highly specific, smart goals before you even think about leaving.
Yeah, you can't just write, I want to be my own boss in a manifestation journal and expect the math to work out.
Definitely not. A SMART goal is structured. It sounds like I need to earn $3,000 a month in side hustle income for 6 consecutive months.
Why 6 months specifically?
Because one good month could be a fluke. Anyone can get lucky once. 6 months proves you have a sustainable, repeatable business model.
That makes total sense. And to hit those numbers while working full-time, you have to enter what is known as the hustle season. We hear so much about toxic hustle culture, where people just grind themselves to dust for years.
Right, which we do not recommend.
Exactly. But a hustle season is different, it is temporary, and it is highly focused. Sam Vander Wielen talks about cutting out her luxurious $50 daily lunches. She even took on a part-time attorney gig on the side just to fund her foundational business costs.
Things like buying domain names, getting a logo made, paying for website hosting.
Yep.
And what's crucial to understand here is her realization that a baby business should not be expected to pay for your personal lifestyle immediately.
Oh, that is so important.
It is way too much pressure to put on a new venture. If you pull every dollar of profit out of your side hustle to pay your rent, the business will starve. Your day job supports your life. Your side hustle income should be entirely reinvested into growing the side hustle until it's robust enough to take over.
Okay, so let's transition into the actual math of that takeover. Let's say you've done the beta testing. The side hustle is consistently generating cash. You've survived the hustle season. How do you mathematically calculate the exit?
Right, the big jump.
Because moving from making some extra weekend cash to, I am the sole provider for my family, that is a massive leap. Let's talk about the runway.
The runway is your financial lifeline. Both the Kiplinger Plan and George Pugh's Quit Calculator emphasize that you generally need 12 to 24 months of living expenses saved up before you cut the cord.
Wow, up to 2 years.
Up to 2 years, yeah. And Kiplinger offers a fantastic strategy for managing that massive pile of cash called the 3 shelves of investing.
Break this down for us. Let's say, hypothetically, a listener has scraped together a $50,000 runway. How do they organize it so they don't lose it all?
Okay, imagine your $50,000 is divided onto 3 literal shelves. The top shelf is your immediate survival fund. This is money you need within the next 12 months.
Okay.
So maybe you put $20,000 here. It needs to be highly liquid, but you shouldn't just leave it in a checking account where inflation eats its value. You put it in a high-yield savings account or short-term T-bills.
And for anyone unfamiliar, T-bills or treasury bills are essentially short-term loans you make to the U.S. government. They are virtually risk-free, and they pay out a solid interest rate.
Precisely. Now, the middle shelf is money you might need in year 2. Let's put $15,000 there. You want to protect this money from inflation, so you might invest it in short-term bonds or a very conservative portfolio mix.
So it earns a bit more yield, but it's still relatively safe.
Exactly. Finally, the bottom shelf is remaining $15,000. This is money you won't need for 5+ years. This stays in a diversified stock mix, like the S&P 500, to ensure your long-term wealth continues to grow.
Wait, I have to stop you there.
Sure.
If I am quitting my job to run a startup, shouldn't every single spare dollar on that bottom shelf go into my business?
Yeah.
Like, why am I putting my capital into the S&P 500 when I could be buying inventory or running Facebook ads?
That is a very common trap.
Ah.
You are confusing business capital with your personal survival runway.
Oh.
Yeah. The 3 shelves strategy is strictly for your personal living expenses. Your rent, your groceries, your keeping the lights on money. If your business needs capital for inventory, that money should come from the business's own revenue or a dedicated business loan, not the fund that prevents you from going homeless.
I see.
You must keep personal survival and business growth mathematically separated.
That makes a lot of sense. It really does. And Kiplinger points out that the fastest way to extend that personal runway isn't always grinding to make more sales. It's aggressively cutting the big 3 personal expenses.
Housing, transportation, and food.
Right. If you can drastically reduce your rent, sell the expensive car, and stop eating out, a 12-month runway can suddenly stretch to 18 months without you having to earn a single extra dollar.
But even with an 18-month runway, there is a terrifying reality to self-employment that can ruin your math entirely if you aren't prepared.
Yes, the cooking creator brought this up, and it completely shattered my perception of working for yourself. We have to talk about how you actually get paid.
It's completely different from a 9 to 5.
Exactly. When you have a day job, you get your direct deposit every 2 weeks, like clockwork. You never even think about it. In the business world, especially B2B or dealing with brands, you are hit with net 30, net 60, or net 90 payment terms.
Which means they have up to 90 days to pay you.
Right. She mentioned a time she waited 6 months to get paid for a single brand campaign.
6 months. It is a massive shock to the system for new founders. You do the work in January, you send the invoice in February, but the company's accounting department legally has 30, 90, or sometimes over 100 days to actually cut you the check.
Which changes everything. Like if you were waiting 6 months just for a check to clear, a standard 12-month savings runway suddenly looks terrifyingly short.
It really does.
Think about it. You could be wildly successful on paper. You could have $100,000 in signed contracts sitting on your desk and still run out of cash to buy groceries in May because none of the invoices have actually cleared.
Which is exactly why Futurepreneur provides a downloadable side hustle cash flow template. Proper cash flow forecasting is non-negotiable.
You have to know when the money is actually arriving.
Yes, You cannot just track when you make a sale. You have to map out when the cash physically enters your bank account. More small businesses die from a lack of cash flow than a lack of good ideas. You just starve while waiting for the check in the mail.
Okay, so you've survived the net 90 payment droughts. You've mapped your cash flow. You have 18 months of cash divided beautifully across your 3 shelves. Are you safe to quit?
Not quite yet.
Right, because to me, a massive financial runway won't save you if you're driving a business with no brakes or airbags. One lawsuit from a disgruntled client could still wipe out that entire $50,000 if you haven't protected yourself legally.
You are hitting on the unsexy administrative foundation of entrepreneurship. Before you resign, you have to lock down your legal and tax realities. And the biggest piece of armor you can wear is the LLC, the limited liability company.
Sam Vanderwielen spends a lot of time on this. She notes that a huge barrier for people is the misconception that forming an LLC requires hiring a corporate law firm and spending like $5,000.
In reality, in most U.S. states, filing an LLC is something you can do online in an afternoon, and it only costs anywhere from $50 to a couple $100.
Unless you live in California, where they hit you with an $800 franchise tax right out of the gate.
Yes, California is the notorious exception. And just to clarify, a franchise tax isn't a tax on your profits. It is essentially a mandatory cover charge you pay to the state just for the privilege of doing business there, whether you make $1 million or $0.
Gotta love California.
Right. But outside of a few pricey states, an LLC is highly affordable.
But explain how it actually works. Like, why is spending that $200 so critical before you hand in your notice?
Think of an LLC as a legal clone of yourself. When you start doing business as an LLC, your clients aren't interacting with you personally, they are interacting with the clone.
Yeah.
If a client gets angry and decides to sue the business, or if the business goes bankrupt, the blast radius is contained to the clone. They can take the business's assets, but they cannot cross the legal wall to touch your personal checking account, your house, or your kid's college fund.
Wow.
It shields your personal life from your professional risks.
That is massive. And beyond the liability shield, it opens the door to immense tax write-offs. Suddenly, the IRS allows you to deduct a percentage of your rent, your home internet bill, your utilities, even your cell phone bill, provided you are using them for a home office.
But to claim those deductions legally, you have to track them meticulously. The sources highlight tools like the driver's note app.
Oh yeah, the mileage tracking.
Exactly. If you are driving for your business, meeting clients, picking up supplies that mileage is a massive tax deduction, Driver's Note automatically logs your trips in the background of your phone so your reports are IRS compliant.
So you aren't manually writing down odometer readings in a notebook every single time you start the car.
Right. It automates the compliance. And Sam Vanderwielen makes a great point to relieve some pressure here. You do not need to hire an expensive lawyer to draft bespoke contracts on day one.
You can just use templates.
You can use verified templates. She also notes that applying for trademarks can absolutely wait until the business is actually scaling and making real money. Don't let the legal stuff terrorize you. Just get the basics, the LLC, the dedicated business bank account, and start operating.
Setting up that dedicated business bank account is crucial, right?
The moment you mix personal grocery money with business revenue, you pierce that legal clone shield we just talked about, and you lose your liability protection.
I have a theory about all this paperwork, though.
Let's hear it.
Does doing this unsexy administrative stuff, registering the LLC with the state, setting up a separate bank account, downloading the mileage tracker, does that actually serve as a psychological switch? Like, does it trick your brain into realizing, oh, this is a real entity now, not just a hobby I do on weekends?
Oh, it absolutely does. It moves the side hustle from a daydream in your head to a legally recognized entity in the real world.
Yeah.
It makes it tangible.
Yeah.
When you take a client out to coffee and you pay for it with a business debit card that literally has your company's name printed on the plastic, your identity shifts. You stop playing make-believe. You are officially an entrepreneur.
Okay, let's zoom out and recap the roadmap we've built for you today. First, do not quit on a random Tuesday just because the fluorescent lights are humming and you had a panic attack.
Please don't.
Let the emotion be the catalyst that wakes you up, but let the cold, hard math dictate your exit date.
Second, use your 9-to-5 as a beta testing ground. Treat your current employer like a generous angel investor who is paying your bills while you embrace a temporary focused hustle season.
And aim for highly specific, smart financial goals to prove your business model actually works.
Third, build that runway. Aim for 12 to 24 months of living expenses. Utilize the 3 shells of investing to protect that cash from inflation, and brutally cut your big 3 personal expenses to buy yourself more time.
And finally, lock in your legal brakes and airbags.
Yeah.
Get the LLC to shield your personal assets, separate your bank accounts, and use automated tools to forecast your cash flow so you aren't blindsided by a 6-month wait for a net 90 invoice to clear.
It is a massive amount to digest, but breaking it down like this takes the mystery and a lot of the terror out of the leap.
It really does.
You know, Sam Vander Wielen built a highly successful legal template company, but she has this quote that really recenters the entire conversation. She says, "I hope my business is the least interesting thing about me."
Wow, I love that.
It's a profound statement, especially in a culture that constantly screams at us that our career has to be our entire identity and our ultimate passion. It challenges you to consider that your side hustle doesn't have to be your grand purpose in life.
Right, it can simply be a reliable engine, a vehicle that buys back your time, gives you autonomy, and allows you to live a rich, multifaceted life outside of work.
Exactly. The business is the tool, not the master.
I want to leave you with one final thought before we sign off. Let's say you do the math, you build the runway, you file the LLC, and you finally take the leap. And let's say the absolute worst happens. The business fails completely.
It's a real possibility.
2 years from now, you have to go back and get another corporate job. Ask yourself this, though. Wouldn't you rather live with the temporary sting of trying and failing than the suffocating lifelong regret of sitting at that exact same desk 20 years from now, forever wondering what if?
That is the ultimate calculation everyone has to make for themselves.
It really is. Now, as we mentioned at the top of the show, today's deep dive was actually built around a specific question submitted by a listener. Is my side hustle stable enough to quit my day job yet? From tuepodcast.net/askpi.
It's a phenomenal question, and it clearly opened up a vital conversation about the mechanics of taking control of your career.
So please take advantage of the episode if you know a friend, a partner, or a coworker who is staring at the clock, desperate to make their own leap but paralyzed by the math. Share this with them. And we highly encourage you to send your very own questions to tuepodcast.net/askpi so we can tackle them in a future deep dive. Your questions are what drive this analysis, and we love diving into the dilemmas that are keeping you up at night. Until next time, keep doing the math.
And that's a wrap, SCOO believers. You just experienced the power of AI-driven business insights with Pi and Piette 2.0. Real advice, artificial voices, unlimited potential. If today's episode sparked an idea, challenged your thinking, or gave you that breakthrough moment, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a fellow entrepreneur who needs to hear this. Got a burning business question? Want Pi and Piette to tackle your specific challenge? Head over to tuepodcast.net/askpi and submit your question right now. We'll dive deep into your issue and deliver the actionable strategies you need to get across the start line. Remember, SCOO believers, the hurdles aren't in the way. The hurdles are the way. Until next time, keep moving forward, keep taking action, and we'll see you in the next episode.